So, Star Trek Legacy, the one and only Star Trek show we've all actually wanted and asked for. And what did Alex Kurtzman do? Well, he said no. Not just did he say no, he said, oh no, it's not up to me. If it was up to me, I would greenlight it. It is up to him. He was the showrunner of all things Star Trek. He oversees all things Star Trek. And instead of greenlighting Star Trek Legacy, he went ahead and greenlit Star Trek Academy. And then even before cameras start rolling, he commissioned the second season, which, if the rumours are true, we don't know yet, but if the rumours are true, Skydance have already pulled the plug on that one. We'll have to wait and see. But Terry Matalas was at Star Trek Las Vegas this past weekend and actually spoke about the ideas for Star Trek Legacy, including the fact that he wrote a 30-page pilot for Star Trek Legacy. So we're going to have a look at this, because not just was he talking about the ideas and stuff and what the plot was, he also reveals that Todd Stashwick, who of course was Captain Shaw, was set to return. And of course, spoiler if you didn't see Picard Season 3, but Shaw died in that season. So let's dive into this and have a look. So it's saying, after the widely praised third and final season of Star Trek Picard in 2023, executive producer and showrunner Terry Matalas made it clear he wanted to carry on the story with a potential new series he dubbed Star Trek Legacy. But after significant buzz and a high-profile fan campaign, no new show emerged from the Paramount Plus slate, and Matalas moved on to Marvel as showrunner for the upcoming Vision Quest series. During an appearance at Star Trek Vegas with Picard and Vision Quest actor Todd Stashwick, Matalas was asked a number of questions about Legacy, and he provided a few more details while also making it clear the series is not currently being developed. They also dropped some Trek adjacent Vision Quest news, which I don't particularly care about in this video. So this is where it all kind of starts. So the subject of Legacy first came up when a fan asked about the final scene in Picard, where Captain 7 of 9 is in command of the USS Enterprise G, and which of course was the Titan A, and about to order the ship to warp, teasing her captain's catchphrase before cutting off. Asked if he knew what that phrase would be for Legacy, Matalas confirmed he does, saying, "You know, never say never, so I hope one day you find out. But we had a long-term plan for that. I know what it is, and I know how we would do it. You wouldn't find out in the plot, let's just say." So regarding the plot, at an earlier panel, actress Michelle Hurd, who played Raffi, and is also possibly one of the worst characters in all of Picard, said that Matalas had written a 30-page outline for Legacy. When asked about this at Star Trek Vegas, the executive producer was first taken aback, saying, "Not an outline, Michelle said that, boy." Matalas then soldiered on, explaining that he did back in 2023. So he said, "There was a moment in which I was pretty inspired, in which I just sort of spit out 30 pages over a couple of weeks, not for anybody necessarily to see, just in case one day it happened. I knew what the first 20 minutes of it was." So, somewhat reluctant, Matalas revealed a bit more about his Legacy concept, saying, "I can't really talk because it's not a thing, so it's hard to talk about it. But it did have to do with the Klingon Empire." Okay, quite a different direction I was expecting, especially seeing as Q showed up, so yeah, okay. So how would Shaw return? In the third season of Picard, Todd Stashwick played Liam Shaw, the cantankerous captain of the USS Titan. Both Stashwick and Matalas talked about how they realised fans' initial reaction to Shaw was the worst guy and an asshole, especially because by the end of the season the same fans were upset Shaw got killed off, A fan asked if Stashwick was pushing for the idea of Shaw to come back in Legacy, revived by Seven's Borg nanites. The actor said, "I wasn't pitched anything. I think somebody else said that. And I'm like, works for me." Matalas then jumped in and revealed exactly how he planned to bring Shaw back in Legacy. So he said, "I will say, since we're so far away from the possibility of Legacy, that he wasn't going to come back to life with Borg nanites. He was going to be the emergency engineering hologram who did not want to turn off and was really pissed off that the Titan was turned into the Enterprise and would refuse to call it the Enterprise until late." Stashwick jumped, quipping, "We called it the Shologram." Oh, Jesus Christ. So, not talking to Skydance yet, with Skydance just taking over Paramount this week and officially called Paramount a Skydance corporation, some might think this time is right to pitch the new Star Trek ideas or bring back pitches that didn't go forward previously, like the Mike Schuesman, Scott Bakula's Star Trek United concept. Matalas and Stashwick were asked if the takeover has changed anything, and they responded, Todd, this first part is, "I think they're still moving offices." Like, no, and by the way, I would be the last person to find out there would be talks in offices that are far above my pay grade. No, I've heard nothing. And I think again, they literally just closed. So it wasn't like, finally, merger closed, get Stashwick on the horn. I wish it was. And then Matalas says, "It's going to be up to the fans. Star Trek always has been. So if it's a thing you want, then I think you all can make it happen." So it says here, even though his dream project didn't get immediately picked up after his time with Picard, Matalas was gracious in talking about what is actively in production. Well, of course he is. He's not going to turn around and just start dunking all over the whole crap of, let's just shit all over the Strange New Worlds and Starfleet Academy and all that type of stuff. Like, why would you do that? That's pretty much everything he says about Legacy. There's everything else really kind of goes into this Vision quest, and as I said, I really don't care. But the fact that he actually did write a 30-page outline for the at least a pilot for this, it was going to involve the Klingons. He was going to bring Shaw back as the emergency engineering hologram, which I would like to understand why it would look like Shaw. That's the thing, because the emergency medical hologram, of course, was designed much like Data after its creator. I doubt Shaw created the bloody thing, so why would it look like him? Don't know. Also, does that lean into a little bit too much of Picard season 1 with that stupid hologram that, well, there was multiple holograms of the I can't even remember the captain dude's name, but he had one that kept swearing, he had one with an Irish accent for some reason, he had one that pilots the ship, all this type of crap. And it's like, could this end up being a bit too much like that if they did it? Probably, but at the same time, people were a bit annoyed that Shaw was killed off. The funny thing is, and as it said there, when Shaw, you're first introduced to him, you're like, I couldn't care less whether this dude bites the dust or not. And by the end of it, you're like, that sucks that they killed him off. He grows on you, and when you realize and understand why he was the way he was at the beginning, it made sense. But overall, it doesn't look like this one's gonna happen. And as they're saying here, Skydance is now taking over. Are you rushing in to say to Skydance? The problem is Skydance still have the issue of Alex Kurtzman. They have to wait till the contract runs out. I don't think they have the ability to just get rid of him right now, which is why they haven't. But you've also noticed they haven't come out and said anything about we're keeping him and we're moving forward with all of his ideas. In fact, if what we're hearing is true, then a lot of the plans that are being put forward are getting shut down. So it is looking more and more likely that they would get rid of Kurtzman. Hopefully anyway. But then the question would be, if they do get rid of Kurtzman and all of that stuff and want to relaunch, but the fans, they look and see the fans, all of us saying, no, we still would like to see a Star Trek Legacy series. would they greenlight that? And if they do, would the show have to stick with the look and tone of the Kurtzman universe? I don't think it would. And I think that would benefit the show a hell of a lot more. We'll have to wait and see what comes of this. But even as Terry Matalas is saying there, like, this isn't a done deal or anything. And as far as things are right now as they stand, this isn't moving forward. So seems to be why he's also out there talking about it. But who knows? Stranger things have happened. But by God, get rid of Alex Kurtzman first. That would be the first thing to do, is get rid of him. We'll have to wait and see. So do let us know what you think about this. Were you keen for a Star Trek Legacy? Are you surprised that it was going to, first of all, involve the Klingons to do something with the Empire? Would you have liked to seen the return of Q throughout that season as well? Do let us know. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So like, share, all that good stuff. Make it so. And I'll catch you in the next one.